Hello everybody, welcome along to another video which is Mr. Johnson Teaches Macbeth, Act 5, Scene 8. Well done if you've been following my videos through to this point because we are very close to the end now of the play. If you haven't, then make sure you dip into some of those key scenes. The sword clash on the screen maybe gives you an indication of what's going to actually happen inside of this one. This is like the culmination, the climax of really the whole play builds to this point and like the destiny of this point as well. A reminder then that Macbeth is part of your English Literature GCSE. It's part of Paper 1 Section A, and that's the first exam that you sit when you do your English exams. So let's move on inside the video then. In summary then, we've got the culmination of everything, as I said. This is the Macbeth and Macduff meeting and the fight. Now Macbeth had Macduff's family murdered. Macduff has therefore been seeking revenge since about Act 4, and this is the point where they finally meet. Macduff reveals to Macbeth that he was born by Caesarean, so not of a woman, fulfilling the witch's prophecies. The witches told Macbeth that no man born of woman could harm him, so technically Macduff wasn't born of woman because he was taken out of his mother's stomach rather than being born. So actually the witches have almost tricked Macbeth in some way. Macbeth fights him anyway, but he's slain by Macduff, so he is actually killed, and so ends the reign of Macbeth. So key characters here, quite simply these two. We see Macbeth and Macduff on stage for this one. And here we go. So I've got the pink bit highlighted there first. There's a really good quote. And so far, and a bit further down as well, is another one highlighted in pink. Really good words for you to use because, as I put on my second arrow in fact as well, these words juxtapose the brave and worthy Macbeth we met at the start of the play. You're very likely to need to talk about how Macbeth, or certainly you should be trying to talk about how Macbeth changes from the beginning of the play, where he's noble Macbeth, worthy Thane, and then he becomes this hellhound, this villain, and they're just really good contrasting words, and it's Macduff who's using those ones there as well. Macbeth, basically, the first arrow doesn't want to fight him. His soul is too much charged with blood of thine already. There's too much of your blood on my soul already, meaning the fact of his family, because he's had them killed. Though Macbeth basically reveals to him, thou losest labour, you're wasting your time with me, because I bear a charmed life, it says next to the first arrow, which must not yield, so mustn't give up, to one of woman born. So again, revealing this hubris, this complete, almost ignorance and arrogance would be an even better word there, to his own sort of, he just believes he's above everything. Macduff says, despair thy charm and let the angel whom thou still hast served tell thee, Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped. And that's the moment that we get the Caesarean, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. He's been ripped from his mother's womb, so literally cut open and taken out. We don't know why. Macbeth finally realises too late the duplicity of the witches, because he says there on line 20, these just above that, these juggling fiends is really good. No more believed. They keep the word of promise to our ear and break it to our hope. So he realises that he's sort of lost it now. The witches have tricked him and beaten him. Macduff says then, yield, coward, which means like drop your sword and give up and sort of become me. Macduff starts provoking him by humiliating him when he says, we'll have paint up a pole and we'll sort of tie you to a pole painted, and underneath it will be written, here you may see the tyrant. So almost like treating him like an animal. Macbeth says, I will not yield, and kiss the ground before young Malcolm's feet, because Malcolm would become king there. So Macbeth just won't accept that. And he goes on to list, though Birnam Wood be come to Dunsinane, and thou oppose, being no woman born, I will try to the last. Before my body I throw my warlike shield. Lay on, Macduff, which means fight on, and damned be he that first cries, hold, enough. Macbeth is just determined to fight on, but at the very end, that stage direction reveals that Macbeth is killed by Macduff when he is slain. Lots of key themes actually for a relatively short scene. Death again, like the culmination is a word I keep using. That word means like the build up towards a climax, and this is it, the climax really, the end of Macbeth, which should happen because as a tragedy you expect the main characters to die, often because of some reason, very often hubris. They deserve to die because they've been so arrogant that they need to see the error of their ways. destiny see fulfilling itself here as well, as with the consequences of his actions have finally caught up with him. Had he not had Macduff's family killed, then maybe he wouldn't have died here, but this is again all destiny, it's maybes. But the duplicity and deception, duplicity being that lovely word for like double meaning, so like almost being two things at once, and the witches were duplicitous as well, and then finally like that's come to haunt him. So these quick revision questions, pause the screen then and have a go at these. All of the answers will be found somewhere in this video. You might need to go back and have a little look for them, but test yourself by writing down those answers. And then finally, just wanted to draw your attention one more time to hubris and hamartia. Hubris is like excessive self-pride, like far too much pride in your own abilities. Hamartia there is your downfall, the thing which causes you to ultimately perish or ultimately sort of lose. And in that case, what's caused Macbeth to lose is his hubris. His excessive self-pride has meant he's been blind to actually realising what's really going on. Perhaps if he hadn't been so hubristic, then maybe he would have seen that the witches were trying to trick him. But ultimately, of course, if he'd done that, then we wouldn't have had much of a play to watch. So that comes to the end of this video. We've got one more final scene to go, so it's well worth watching that one to see how the play finishes. Above all, I wish you the very best of luck when it comes to your exams. Thanks very much for watching this video all the way to the end, and goodbye.